Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Sharice Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Sharice Walker, your host, and today we're going to talk about time, family time, and making memories, and quality, not quantity. Because as someone who just got back from a trip with my kids to Disneyland, traveling to me is something that I do very, very frequently because it's a way to spend time with my family, away from all the noise, and make memories. And so I'm super excited to have Allie Raymer in the house because she is a travel advisor. So we're going to talk about the business side of her stuff, but we're also going to talk about why it's important to travel and tips and tricks on that and how she can help you. And then obviously we'll get into motherhood as well. So Allie, without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Thank you so much for having me. I love that intro. That is so true. Just like I just got back from vacation myself with my kids and it was so nice to unwind. But yeah, I am Allie Raymer. I'm a senior travel advisor with Picture This Travel. I have been in the travel industry for 8 years now. And I actually used to be a high school English teacher, and I would take students on group tours to Europe and Central America and all over. And my husband's aunt owned her own agency, and she kind of tapped me on the shoulder and was like, Allie, you know, you can sell travel to people with money, right? Not just high school students. And I was like, oh, wow. And so she really opened my eyes up to owning my own business, running my own thing. And it's just been a journey ever since then.
And let's talk about that because I can't tell you how many people I talk to that have been former high school teachers or college or elementary, whatever it is, and then they've gone into their own business. And like I was talking to my daughter's teacher right before the break, and she's miserable. And
Right.
especially now, like there's a lady, without getting political, like I was going through Facebook while I was on the plane, and she was talking about how she's stepping down from the Board of Education for the state because it's corrupt and all these things. She's like, my only advice is get your children out of the system. And so obviously it's changed a lot. And so what made you decide to make that switch? Because that's a steady job that you have retirement with.
Yeah, it was a steady job, a steady paycheck. I got my summers off, I got my breaks. For me, I came to a point where I thought I was leading the travel club with these kids and I was seeing how excited they were to go experience the world for the first time. And I realized that's why I was showing up to work every day. So for me, I thought I could just do this. Like, this is the thing that really lights up my Christmas tree is seeing people see the world. And it wasn't really what we were doing in the classroom anymore. It was the things outside of the classroom. And teachers, I think at heart, we're kind of just hustlers. I think because a lot of times we don't make a ton of money at what we do and we do have some time, we end up finding these side hustles that end up becoming our passion. So, yeah, I think that's what it was for me. It was a side hustle in the beginning. And then I was able to actually replace my teacher salary in 2019. So I sold travel for a couple years and I was able to step away. Obviously, then the pandemic hit, so I lost everything. But yeah, I think that hustle mentality, teachers tend to have that because we actually have quite a few ex-teachers as travel advisors, and they're all really successful, I think, because they're just, I don't know, maybe we're unafraid too. We've been around high school students, so we're kind of shameless, you know?
Well, and I think also it's a passion thing. You
Right.
find what you love. And I'm like talking to you, I'm like, why am I not doing that? Because I mean, granted, I love what I do, but I travel a lot.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and I plan all my trips. Like I could easily call a concierge of multiple different things and they could take it, but I want to be able to like decide my stuff and know.
Yeah, for
So
sure. It becomes very fun to organize everything, you know, that kind of type A personality for sure. I think I kind of thrive off of that, of putting everything into a little box and itinerary. There's something very magical about that. So
mhm.
I definitely enjoy that side of the job too.
Okay, so let's talk about that. The type of personality that, as an entrepreneur, maybe not just travel, but as an entrepreneur, what are some of the traits that you feel are important for someone like you who is listening to this? They're like, okay, I'm a teacher or I'm something else, and I want to go into something else. What are some of the qualities or traits you feel are important?
I really feel like that you have to be fearless. You just have to be unafraid. You have to be willing to bet on yourself and know that you can perform. And I think too that just really following that passion, like what you just talked about, and being relentless with it. And that's kind of sometimes I see people get into the travel industry and they think, "Oh, I want to be a travel agent, like or I want to be a travel advisor. This looks so fun. You get to go on trips and all of that." And then they realize how much work it takes and they're like, never mind, you know? But I think you just have to be so relentless. And I'm just obsessed. You have to become obsessed with it because once you become obsessed, then I don't know, it just flows out of you. Everybody knows me and they know that I'm completely obsessed with travel. It's my whole personality. You know, there is no other personality besides that. And I think that that's really what has made me successful because people just know that if I'm that relentless, that I'm going to care a ton about their trips and their servicing them well.
And I love that. I love that you built that reputation and you built that trust with people. That's also something like I get calls all the time from my clients. Oh, so I think I want to become a real estate agent. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
Question. Because in business, like if you don't have your why, then
Mm-hmm.
you're not, it's hard. And I said, you
Yep.
see the fun part of me, like as I'm showing you homes, but I'm going to now talk to you about the down and dirty because
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole lot behind the scenes that is not fun. And especially like
Yep.
in your career, what just happened in the Caribbean, like all these flights were canceled and
Yeah.
multiple different things, and people are worried about stuff. And so, how are you going to handle that? Right. And you get to
Right.
probably help them figure that out.
Yeah, it's such an interesting. My mom's a realtor, and one of my very best friends is a realtor as well. And I find it's a very similar job. You know, if I'm trying to explain my job to someone that's never worked with a travel advisor, I'm like a realtor, but for travel, because it's just kind of similar. And yeah, it's interesting too because I think in both of our fields too, and in a lot of entrepreneurship, you know, we try to be in control, but so much of what we do is out of our control. And it's a matter of figuring out, okay, how am I going to ride this wave of, yeah, like what just happened with the Caribbean? You know, we woke up on Saturday morning to news of Venezuela and we're like, oh, now I get to deal with flight cancellations all day. And that's totally out of our control. But I think a lot of it is just kind of rolling with it. And I think again, that's where that relentless spirit comes from of just I'm not in control of everything and that's okay. And but I can definitely service my people well and try to be like a steady force for them.
Okay, so let's talk about travel. Love it.
Yeah.
I do it a
It's so
lot.
fun. Yes.
I literally was standing in front of the board as I was waiting for my daughter when we got off the plane. She's like, Mom, I have to go to the bathroom. So I'm sitting there waiting for her. And I look at the list of all the departures and I'm like, been there, been there, been there, been there. Like
Mm,
the only one I hadn't been to was Lima, Peru, which is where my daughter was for 9 months.
nice.
Right. And so I'm
Nice.
like, oh, I guess I have to go to Lima. And so it's fun to say, wow, I have traveled a lot and it's cool that I can go to places. And it's fun to be able to see the world and different things. And so you talk about the most underrated travel destinations. What are those secret, like the secrets that nobody knows
Oh.
about?
Oh, that is good. You know, the one that is popping off so much, and I don't know if it's underrated or maybe it's becoming too trendy, but I feel like Iceland is like the winner for so many people. And it doesn't matter when you send them. Like I've sent clients in the middle of winter, I've sent them in the middle of summer, like all different kinds of budgets, all different reasonings for why they want to go. And I feel like it's that one destination that just always pops off for everyone. Like it's the thing they come back to and they're like, that was amazing. And I think it's just because it's super unique nature. Like all the natural elements are so different than what we're used to seeing. That would probably be one. And then another one that is always a winner is Croatia. And I think it's because it's like Italy's cousin. Like there's something familiar about it. People always love Italy. And it kind of feels that way, but it's just a little cousin of Italy that's maybe a little more hidden gem. And you have all the coast. I mean, Croatia totally won because they have like a great coastline, you know? So those would be a couple destinations that I feel like a lot of my clients end up maybe not thinking of originally, but we end up getting there. And I would say Portugal too is kind of like that. Portugal is maybe one they don't request, and then I end up persuading them into it.
And I love it. And I actually love traveling in the off seasons because it's not as
Right.
crowded, it's not as expensive. And honestly, I don't mind. Like it's right at the cusp of switching into the off season or going into
Mhm.
that I love to do that. But my son, his bucket list is Iceland. Like if he had some money right now, he would
He'd be there. I
absolutely.
love that. Well, and I think a lot of it, I'm out of Nashville area. And so, once those new flights get added, I
Oh,
feel like that always just opens people's eyes to like, oh wait, I can go there nonstop.
mhm.
That's great, So all the schedules that start to open up for the new year is always fun because it opens up new destinations for people.
So the travel business, I think, is as your position has kind of taken a hit because of all the Expedias and the blah blah blahs, right?
Mhm.
But you're still so valuable and important. So let's talk about why.
Right.
And I'm not asking you to justify your position because I think it's very, very valuable. But why would somebody like call you and say, "Hey, book this trip for me," versus going on Expedia or some travel package online?
Right. I think that's such a valid question. I work with so many people who say, I've never worked with a travel advisor before. So that is kind of my bread and butter. And it's always fun to be like, okay, here's what I do. Like, here's all the things that I can do. And for me, it's really more about I don't just book travel. For me, I love to get to know my clients. I love getting on a consult call with them, hearing not necessarily a destination or a list of to-dos. I just love hearing about them. What did you enjoy about your last vacation? What kind of pace do you want to go at? What do you enjoy just doing in your day to day? Do you enjoy food? Do you love cooking? Do you like drinking wine? And really getting to know them. I often joke with my husband and say I'm like a marriage counselor, I think sometimes because I'm listening to husbands and wives and their, preferences and trying to navigate those. And a lot of my job is like listening between the lines of what these people are really wanting. And that's my favorite part of my job is listening to what they want. And then I'm like, hey, have you thought about this destination at this time of year, in the off season or whatever? And it totally opens up their eyes. And so, yeah, they could go to Expedia and say, sure, let me book the Four Seasons in Costa Rica. But if I listen to them and I'm like, guys, I don't really even think Costa Rica is what you want. Like, you haven't thought about X, Y, and Z, then that's my role. Truly, I think that we have shifted, a lot of us as travel advisors have shifted from even using the language travel agent versus travel advisor because so much of our role is listening to people's wants and really just kind of giving them that expert advice based on our personal experiences, based on the connections that we have in different destinations. And that's my favorite part of my job is having those conversations. And for me, it's not, I tell my new agents that I mentor, I'm like, do not be an order taker. The moment you become an order taker, you're replaceable, honestly. So I really try to avoid that when I can.
Well, and I'm going to talk about two things. First of all, like I booked something and I walked into that and I was a little scared for me and my daughters, right?
Mm.
Because media, oh, it's 5 stars, or, you got to read the reviews. And someone like you, which I caught on that I said agent and then you like nicely. I
It's
thought,
all good. Yeah.
no, but I like that you said that because you're giving advice, you're giving your expertise. And someone like me, I don't know. And so you probably work with lots of people, like we just came back from Disneyland, that, hey, like this is a great place. I send my people, they love this hotel versus this. And a difference
Mm.
of $20 might seem like a lot to some people on paper, but your safety
Right.
and a lot of things wrong with it that you are aware, you're familiar. This is your expertise. And so I think that I love that you use the word advisor because of that. So let's talk about myths though. It doesn't really cost very much more to use you versus somebody else, right? Because you get paid
That's right.
from the other agencies.
Right. So what we do is, we really can charge a planning fee. I would say a lot of advisors now do that, especially for more customized itineraries. So like my specialty is European niche kind of travel where you're going and you have this very specific, route that you want to go and things you want to see. And for a lot of people, it's maybe their first, second, third time to Europe. So they're still very much intimidated by the destination. So I charge planning fees for things like that. That takes a lot of time, for me to go through and piece that together or work with a partner and piece it together. But I mean, the fees are honestly really nominal because it's just for our time up front to plan it. And then we do get commissions from our partners. So we're either working with an in-country partner. So they are a destination management specialist there in the country that are kind of boots on the ground, and they're going to pay us a commission for bringing them the right kind of client, or we're working with, hotel operators, we're working with cruise lines, and they're paying us a commission. So yeah, it definitely doesn't cost anymore. I think that's for sure a myth. We either see what the public sees or we see cheaper. I don't want to say it's never going to be more expensive, because sometimes we're adding value in that you normally wouldn't get if you just booked online. Maybe we have, again, like a destination management company on the ground who there's a concierge there that you can text in France, and they're giving you all their recommendations on where to eat dinner. So that's like an added value you're not going to get somewhere else, but you're really never going to be spending more with a travel advisor. You're just going to be getting a ton more value and more high touch experience with your trip, and lots of eyeballs on it too. I mean, I have me and a whole team, and yeah, our destination partners, we're all looking at your trip instead of just, because things can slip through the crack with travel for sure.
Well, and someone like me who has never been to that destination because I don't like to go to repeat places, that's not me. I have no
Right.
right? And so I spend hours and hours and hours planning this trip. And let's add up the amount of money that I make per hour,
Right.
how much I'm losing because I'm working on planning this trip,
Yep.
like working my job. It's like we need to get away. Like there's people that are in the expertise for a reason. You go to an accountant because they know how to reduce your taxes that you have to pay.
Yep.
You go to an real estate agent because there's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo that you don't, like, why would you not hire a travel agent for that same purpose?
Right.
So
Right. Yes. Yes. Well, and so many of my clients are just like you, they're entrepreneurs, they run businesses, very high up, CEOs, whatever, and they're busy people, or they're just moms that are super busy, trying to manage their kids' schedules and all of that. And yeah, the amount of hours that it takes to plan a trip for someone who's researching the destination for the first time is totally different than someone like me who, I have a partner, I have so many drivers, I have so many guides literally on my WhatsApp. I can text them, hey, here's who I've got. And that takes me 2 seconds, where it would take someone else who's never been there, yeah, hours, and all the spreadsheets. I mean, people will send me their spreadsheets and I'm like, guys, there's a better way. You don't need to do this.
my sister does this PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
And it's like mapped out by hour. And I used to be like that. I'm like, I cannot. That's my husband hates those type of trips. So I'm like, okay, I'll get rid of it.
Right. Right.
No, it's true. And so what about someone who's listening? They're like, okay, I love travel and I want to get into this. How would they do that?
Yeah, I think it's one of those industries, it has grown a ton. There's been several factors for that. One, it was an older industry. When I very first started in 2017, I was an infant in the industry. I mean, I was in my mid 20s and you would have thought I was a baby. There were so many older people in the industry. And it's been such a fun shift to see that change over the last 8 years. Since COVID, the travel industry boomed post COVID. Once you tell people you can't do something, then that's all they want to do. And I really think too, there's a couple things happening with the different generations we're seeing right now. The boomers are retiring and they have the money and they're so beyond ready to travel. I mean, I have so many good boomer clients that are repeats that go every year somewhere new. And then, your Gen Xers are getting into that season. I think they've always kind of valued doing something a little different as well. And then the millennials, I'm a millennial. I mean, it definitely speaks to who we are to have experiences over things. And so I think we're in like a really sweet spot too with what people are looking for and their desires and where they're willing to spend their money. But yeah, if someone's looking to get into it, I think the main thing is really do your research on the type of agency that you want to work with, because our agency is very boutique. It's very small. We're women owned and ran, and we very much value collaboration and mentorship. But not every agency is like that. So I think definitely do your research. Do your research too about there are different travel consortiums. So we're a part of Travel Leaders Network, but there's others like Virtuoso. So there's kind of these consortiums that you can be a part of as well. And I think do your research, figure out, who are the people that I want to service? Who do I want to what kind of travel do I want to sell? And then from there, just do your research on the consortiums and the different agencies and get in with one that's going to take you under their wing and really mentor you, because so many honestly are kind of like MLM-y. I'm just going to say it. It is what it is. And you just want to avoid that because you're not going to get that mentorship in this business. There's it's like drinking from a fire hose on the daily because we're having to learn travel trends for the whole world that's constantly changing, you know? So I would definitely give that advice to someone. Come on to an agency that you feel that connection with and you feel like you're going to get that personal coaching for sure.
Do you need a certification? Do you need some type of licensing?
You as an individual do not have to have it. It does depend on your agency because your agency is going to have the certification. And it's, you know, either a CLIA or an IATA. That's kind of the certification that you have to have, but your agency is going to have that. And then they may require certain trainings of you. So our agency has a couple trainings, one of which I developed. It's like a online video training. And then some our consortium does, but so it does depend on the agency, but no, it's not like a realtor where you have to have a license. So it's a little more open. Anybody can join, but you also kind of need to be cautious in that too. So I sometimes wish that we had licenses, honestly.
That's true. Okay, and then how did you get your clients when you first started out?
Oh gosh, yeah. Okay, so I first started, I was a teacher. And when you first start in anything, friends and family are always the worst. They're never going to, it doesn't matter how much experience you have with travel, they're never going to like see you as an expert. So I definitely didn't start there. I joined, this is kind of silly, but I joined a gym that I couldn't afford because I knew a lot of wealthy people worked out there and kind of movers and shakers in our community. And I thought, I'm just going to join this gym and get to know these people. And they're going to see me show up every day at 6 a.m., you know, so they're going to see I work hard. And that got me a ton of inroads, I'll be honest. And it got me into a lot of good networks in our community. And then from there, I kind of, a lot of repeat and referral. I'd say 80% is repeat and referral. And then social media, free marketing. It's easy. Everybody loves talking about travel too. So that's kind of a fun one. Instagram, LinkedIn. And then I do try to connect a lot with different companies. So I'll reach out to companies and try to plan like their incentive trips or their corporate travel. And then that opens up a door for more people because now the company has trusted me. And so now these individuals will start to trust me with their business. And then Pied Pipers, you know, I'll reach out. We used to do a lot of like Holy Land trips. So we would reach out to local pastors. And then we ended up navigating, okay, right now I'm working on one that's with a local chef in Kentucky. And so we're kind of reaching out to these Pied Pipers and tapping into their following and figuring out, okay, who's their audience and who wants to follow them. And let's plan trips for that. So I do a lot of like Pied Piper group kind of niche travel retreats, things like that. And that can kind of grow your circle quickly because if you do groups, then automatically you have, you know, 40, 60 people that have instantly become your client. And now those people can all refer you. Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing in the beginning was trying to get as many groups as I could because I feel like that would grow my referral network pretty quickly.
That's great. Very unique. I commend you. That's cool that you did it that way. You know, you got to get out in the community. You got to get out so people know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was hard. There's definitely an imposter syndrome with that. And I'm an extrovert, but I still think that it's a challenge to, especially if you do, like I work from home. And if you do work from home, it's easy to just stay on your laptop and behind your laptop. But it's like you have to get out there and put yourself. And here's the thing, like we sell the most fun thing in the world. Like people love to talk about their trips. So even if you didn't plan it, it's fine. Like I still want to hear someone's story. And they still want to talk to you about it. And that's okay. Cause then someone else might overhear it. And you know, well, I want to go there. So it's great that we sell the most fun thing. It is what it is. So.
Okay, so as a mom, a mompreneur, what do you do, especially working from home? What do you wish that you would have known starting out with being like, I don't want to use the word juggling, but balancing, playing both roles.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It is such a challenge. And it was something that, you know, I have a 5-year-old and I had him in 2020. So my whole business burned to the ground 3 weeks after I had him. So that I think for me, going through that experience of literally just sitting in the ashes of my business with a newborn, he was my first too. So it's like in this postpartum, like, you know, what am I doing with my life? But I think sometimes you have to just get forged in the fire. That's just a part of motherhood because it just makes moms are just the strongest people in the world. Like we are so resilient. We will do anything. We will go to the ends of the earth. And I just think that's so unique to moms. And you don't know that until you go through it. But that really forged me. I mean, going through COVID, having a newborn, watching my business crash, and then building it all back up again. But he was my why though. I'm like, I got to do this for him, he's my kiddo. I got to like make something of myself to have a great life for him. And then yeah, I had my second unexpectedly. I got pregnant with her, and that was when my business was booming, and I thought, "Oh my, I'm going to have to grow a whole team and trust other people and rely on them and build something. Not This isn't just about me anymore. I've got to build something." And I ended up bringing on everyone but two agents, our moms. And I ended up bringing on four other moms in different seasons of motherhood. But I think I knew we have a strength, like we have that can just really help us persevere regardless of the risks and kind of the obstacles that come our way. But yeah, becoming a mom 100% made me a better business person. It made me really unafraid, I think, to take risks on and bet on myself. So yeah.
That. And now you've built a team and you're working with those people. That's amazing.
Great. Yeah.
Okay, so you're sitting on a park bench and this 9-month pregnant woman comes in, sits next to you, and you get talking. What is one piece of advice you would give her about anything about being a mom? It doesn't have to be just a new mom.
I would say don't let the way you were raised or the way you see other moms raising their kids dictate how you want to raise your kids. I remember being pregnant with Pax, my firstborn, and thinking, how are we going to make like day-to-day decisions on like what's right and what's wrong and like how we parent? Like something about that was really intimidating to me. And I'm like, are we going to have rules? Like, are we going to have a rule book? How are we going to do this? And I remember my husband and I sitting down and being like, okay, what are like some guiding principles that we can, no matter what, we can come back to this. So if we have a question about, should we do this, or should we parent this way, or should we say something, we're just going to come back to these 4 principles. And so we came up with kindness, tradition, adventure, and integrity. And we were like, these are going to be our 4 principles. So we're just going to hang everything on this. So I think I would tell a new mom, like, sit down and really think about like what could be even 2 words, 2, 3, 4 words that could be like your light, your guidepost of how you're going to parent. So when my kid asks me, can I do this? Can I play piano? That was something we encountered this year. I don't play an instrument, but my kid wanted to play piano. And I'm like, yeah, like, let's do it. If we do it, that's going to be a new adventure. That sounds fun, but we have to do it with integrity. We got to go to practice every week. So I really feel like that helped us just guide us. And that's definitely what I would tell a new mom. Don't worry about how you were raised, but really think about those guiding principles of what you want to instill in your family.
I think that is such great advice, and unique. No one's ever said that, and all the people I've interviewed.
Well, yay, that's fun. I love that.
But I really do think that that's true. I had this conversation. That's when my face was like got home late, and then I talked with my daughter and her for until 4 a.m, right? And I'm
Oh my
like, "Shoot," and I have
gosh.
to back up to take my young ones to school
Yeah.
at 7, and so sleep. My face is up. But those are things because she's 23. She's about to get engaged, and so her boyfriend was there, and that's the first time we've been able to talk. He's like, I got to get home to. He has to work in the morning as well, but that's something I talked about is that, I want to be able to have a relationship because as an adult child, when does a parent like talk about, okay, now that you're an adult, but yet you're not really an adult because you're still coming home for holidays and things. Like there's never a conversation about the transition from like childhood to teenagehood, from teenagehood to the pre-adulthood and then an adult child. And so those are the things I realized, okay, if you don't get anything else, this is what I want a relationship to be like. And this is
Right.
how I want you to be honest with me. I don't want you to feel like guilt is not something I like. There's a podcast I had with Shame, which was amazing. And so It's just making sure that you know what the core principles are of your family
Mm.
and that your kids know that. And I love that you've communicated that with your husband and now you're doing it with your children because now they know what principles to live
Mhm.
by. And I think that that's amazing.
Right, right. Yeah, because that's true. I didn't really think about that. But once they get older, if we keep reiterating these four things of like, hey, this is why we're doing this because we value adventure or we value integrity, then they start to adopt those things. I didn't even like think about that. That's such a good point. Like then they become, yeah, these kind of and they become adults way too soon, you know? And hopefully these things are instilled in them that we've preached at them because they're not just going to magically happen overnight. Like you really do have to I don't want to say preach at them, but just instill those things and communicate with them.
And probably haven't thought of that because, see, I am on the other side where I have old adult kids, right? And I still have these little young ones as well. But it's like I've run the gamut and, well, not yet. I've seen things and I wish I could reverse the clock and go, oh, I wish I would have done this differently. Yeah. And no matter what, that's just being a parent. You're like, oh, because the
Right.
books change for every child.
I'm learning that. I'm learning that. My youngest is a different beast than my oldest.
Yes, they are. And
Mm.
that's the birth order. So,
Yep.
okay. So how would our listeners find you if they wanted to?
Yeah, I would love for people to follow me on Instagram. That's probably where you get the most authentic, just real me in the day to day, as well as travel tips and things like that. So it's at Allie Picture This Travel. And then you can find me on LinkedIn as well, Allie Raymer. And yeah, my website as well. That's just kind of a great place too to kind of see what I do, what I'm about. And that's AlliePictureThisTravel.com.
Well, Allie, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is so good. I appreciate it.
It was fun. And Unbreakable Moms. I hope that, I mean, there's a lot of golden nuggets, obviously, that we talked about, but travel is one of those things. Like, I do it, I love it. So I'm a huge proponent of what you do. And now I'm like, now I want to do what you do.
I love it.
It's just finding your passion is so important. And I love what I do. So I'm not, but that's something that making memories will never change. Like there are a lot of things. You can see my bookshelf. There's a lot of stuff, but I would change all of that in a heartbeat to be able to go on another trip with my family. That's just something that's amazing. So thank you for making memories. And then
Mm.
also being a mom, like the principles that you talked about and your core values as a family. That I cannot reiterate enough that making sure that your kids have a direction and a path and they know they need guidance and they need structure. And so those are great values to go by. Go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Sharice Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Sharice Walker.